Michael Killen, and I've invited another gentleman to come on, this show named Jeb Eddy. He is an environmental activist, and he is very helpful to the work I do. And he is going to ask me questions. We're going to discuss two upcoming events, both in a way related to California's Climate Action Summit. Jeb Eddy.
My friend.
How are you?
Pretty well. Pleased to be part of this Bay Area and national and international series of events that are happening starting next week.
Now, Actera, a firm that I know organization you know a lot about, as you know, is putting on an event in the morning of
I'm going to go.
Tuesday,
the 11th.
The 11th. And when people finish going there, if they come back down to the Palo Alto, Menlo Park, Redwood City area, I have an event.
Let me see. Tell me about it.
As you know, for the last year, I have been painting California's climate plan. And in a gallery called Art Ventures in Menlo Park, downtown Menlo Park, on that evening, there will be an event that starts at 6:30 where one of my paintings, which is Safeguard California, and that's goal number 6, will be on display. There'll be wine and cookies and whatever. I'll probably give a little speech, but my painting will be there, and people will be coming, and I will be sharing what motivated me to make the painting, Safeguard California, which I think Safeguard California is the most important goal because it's the bottom line. What we all desire is to have everything we value safe and protected.
And how to express some of those ideas in the colorful, symbolic manner that you do is a continuing central part of your life, I am very glad to say. And it just so happens that I brought with me a version of the painting that you're talking about that is already a bit out of date, because my experience with you continue to get ideas. You continue to refine particular pieces of an individual painting. So would now be an okay time to try to show this?
So this is an early draft of Safeguard California. The painting, the final version that goes out at this event, is 20 feet long, 6 feet high. And
what are a couple of the things, since I can't see it from where I'm sitting, what are a couple of things that you'd care to tell us about?
Well, first of all, it's based on 4 fundamental ideas, or I like to think of them as principles for how to act in the environment we live in and where it's going. And that is the principle of adaptation. So this painting, in part, is inspired by my desire to bring to the attention the need for all of us to think about our actions in terms of being able to adapt. And on the far right over there, there are 2 poles, and on the first version, those poles symbolize being able to roll with the punches. We need to adapt. And this major infinity sign, which is yellow, is symbolic of the thought of sustainability. Okay? And so we have adaptation, sustainability. And the third fundamental principle that we all should think about when we look at our situation and decide on what actions we execute is resilience. We need to build resilience everywhere, and resilience is to spring back from the hits. And then the fourth one is mitigation. And I interpret mitigation as reducing the threat that might be coming at us. And to reduce the threat, you sort of got to step out and go at it. And what we have here is a man on a horse, and that man is the greatest character in the history of literature, Don Quixote. And you know the Don Quixote story.
He rode a horse and tried to chase windmills with his spear.
Yes, but he was like you, an old, broken down man who one day woke up and decided to go out and fight the great wrongs of his time, to go out and fight the great giants of his time. And an expression that is carried on over the ages is tilting at windmills. He was out with his sidekick, and he saw windmills on a mountain. And he saw their arms, thought they were arms, and he decided they were giants. And he decided to go out and fight them. So I put a windmill in here, and on the blades and coming out the bottom are things that are threatening, like a muffler that's spewing out emissions, a tree that's burning, symbolic of the forest fires of California that are sending out greenhouse gases, and a building and some gas jets that are burning and also sending out emissions. So that is...
How big is the original? I'm holding a little version of it. What is the real dimensions of this thing, Michael?
20 feet.
20 feet wide. My arms aren't that long. I can't do that.
Oh, no.
Never mind.
6 feet high, and it's going to be a while before I take on another 20-footer, because they are very, very difficult. There is another aspect of this painting, and when I make one of these paintings, I am thinking about performing, thinking about standing in front of a large group of people and giving a speech, a little bit like I'm doing now, explaining what I try to say or paint and how it is valuable to people. So I know there'll be people in the audience who will say, well, it's nice that you say California's climate plan is the most important climate plan in the United States. It's a good plan, but on the other hand, the weight of this great state, the 5th largest economy, makes sure it is the most important. And then I have 3 gold bars on the right. And those gold bars are there so I can say, and ladies and gentlemen, the plan will be successful because we got the money. And then there's a heart. It'll also be successful because there's a lot of people in this state that have a heart, are concerned with justice of all the people in this state. And then there is a brain. And if this state has anything, it's got a lot of brain power. And so the finished 20-foot painting will be displayed at a gallery called Art Ventures in Menlo Park on Tuesday, the 11th, and there's a reception at 6:30 to 8:30. And I'm
going to be there too, but I'm not going to hold this little version of it. Are you going to have the original?
Yes.
You're going to have the 20-foot?
Yes, the gallery owner, a lovely woman named Katrina Power, will send a truck over, pick up the whole thing the day before, install it nicely.
But there's also been some change in the symbolism and some change in, because this version is a few months old, right?
Oh yes, the symbolism is massively changed. I mean, this spring goes all the way up here. Instead of those poles, I got a huge tire that you can see through the infinity sign. The windmill, I have spent a week enriching the quality of the windmill and changing an awful lot of other things. And I've strengthened the lance, the lance that he uses. He would use a wooden and metal lance. Today, he would be throwing out bolts of electricity, because electrification of everything possible is one of the ways to help all of us reduce the use of fossil-based energy and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
My wife and I drive an electric car, and I ride one of the fastest electric bicycles in the city of Palo Alto. I'll give them a plug. It's a great way to get around. And the continuing evolution of telling the stories in these paintings is part of why I enjoy being a part of Michael's world.
Oh, thank you. And that one behind us is another print, and that one is sustainability. And I made that for NASA at their request. And then also I moved on to Resilience of America, another 24-foot painting, and just one right after another. And so I hope I see you on Tuesday, the 11th, 6:30, Art
Ventures on
and
Santa Cruz Avenue?
on Santa Cruz Avenue.
In Menlo Park.
And they have a website, and I think the folks who are managing and producing the show would be kind to put up that website.
Look forward to being there.
And I have only really one more of these big paint goals to paint, and I'm teamed up with Stanford to make it. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest has been Jeb Eddy. He's an environmental activist. I am Michael Killen.